Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds, where I like to collect together all the stuff I've purchased over the past week and run through it with you. And I got a little bit of everything this time. I got CDs, box set, I got a shirt, even got some jewelry to run through with you, and we'll do that here in just a bit. But before we get started, if you're new to my channel and haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things do help. I'd greatly appreciate it. And of course, if you turn on notifications, you're gonna stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this with New Music Finds. All right, so first one up here, this company, Gothic, GTHIC, reached out to me, liked what they saw on the channel, thought that their stuff might be fitting for this, and I agree with them. So some cool jewelry from this company, and I'll show you the stuff up close in just a minute, but I just wanted to show you how it arrives because I thought it was pretty cool. First thing I picked out was this very cool coiled stainless steel snake ring. And then I also picked up this vintage pattern stainless steel skull ring, befitting of any metalhead. I also got this one here, a little different. It's got a forest on it, and the inside of it has wood on it. So it's stainless steel and wood forest ring. But the one that I thought was really cool was this bracelet of a Viking crow head. So imagine that, pretty wild, right? So anyway, I just thought that was pretty cool. I wanted to share that with you guys. There is a link in the description for 20% off coupon if you're interested in it. And they liked what I do here on the channel, so they also offered up an additional 25% discount on the stainless steel product if you use code Brendan20. I'm going to leave that in the description down below as well. All right, we're going to go ahead and dive into the stuff we normally do here. New releases. First thing up, The Babies, live at the Bottom Line, New York City, 1979. Let's see, there's 11 tracks on here. This thing really interested me because there were 3 unreleased songs that hadn't been recorded on studio albums. One of the songs, Crystal Ball, became the song Anytime later on. They reworked it for that, but the other 2 songs, unreleased. I have to say, I didn't think that the energy of the show was all that strong for me. I know some of you guys really liked it. That was just how I took it. Kind of warms up as the show goes on and got better and better. But it's good sound quality. And, if you like the Babies, Jonathan Cain, John Waite, Ricky Phillips, I forget the guitar player's name, Stockard. Good stuff. Definitely worth checking out. And then also the other thing was a reissue of, I think it's his 2018 album, Anthony Gomes. This one here is Peace, Love, and Loud Guitars, but it's a 2024 remix version. Now, I've never heard the original one, so I don't know how much more powerful or edgy, as he describes it, saying that that's what this one would be, than the original, but good nonetheless. I only recently got into this guy. This one here is definitely more blues than the blues hard rock, like the most recent album I had picked up. So I think if you're into bluesy hard rock guitar players, Anthony Gomes is a guy for you guys to check out. All right, if you saw my Let's Go to the Record Store video for Jack's Music Shop in Red Bank, New Jersey, you know that place is killer. I found lots of CDs there. First one up was Randy Meisner's self-titled album, reissue on Friday Music label. This is one I had on record, but did not yet have a CD copy, so I was very glad to get a hold of this. Found the debut Firefall album. I was actually thinking this was a different one that I had. It turns out I didn't actually own this one at all. I thought I had it on a 3 different albums on one disc sort of thing, those BGO Records ones. Turns out this was not one of them. Very similar album cover, but picked that one up. Moody Blues Caught Live +5. Picked it up for those additional 5 studio tracks. I think this is about 68, 69, so it's right before the era that I actually really like of the band, but I'm a sucker for getting any extra little bonus studio that I can get a hold of. This one here's kind of kicked off a whole thing for me. Manfred Mann's Earth Band, Best Of. This one is Warner Brothers Archives putting this package together, featuring 12 tracks on it. Of course, their best known stuff like Blinded by the Light, the Bruce Springsteen song that they covered and had, I think it was a #1 hit with. And that came off of the Roaring Silence in '76, and it sort of changed the trajectory of the band. The Manfred Mann had been in the '60s era, and then hadn't really caught on in the '70s until doing this here, and then again that sort of changed everything. But um, I hadn't really listened to anything. I knew that one song. I knew a little bit of other stuff by them, but didn't really know a lot. Picked this up, and it kicked off a whole thing. I'll show you some more of what I picked up from Manfred Mann in a little bit here. Found this one, Timbuk 3. You guys remember them from the '80s? Future So Bright, Gotta Wear Shades. Well, that's off of this album here. And then Scott Kempner, guitar player for the Del Lords as well as the Dictators, which is really where I know him from. I didn't even know he had made a solo album. So to find this one here was very cool. That one was sort of the icing on the cake, Tenement Angels. And I've been looking for this for a little while, Earshot, and the album is called Letting Go. Just actually got reissued for Record Store Day back in April, and I almost picked up that, but that was a really expensive reissue. I'm glad I held out to find a CD copy. And this is early like 2000s, but it's not so much this music that I was really particularly interested in. It was the vocalist in the group who would later join up with George Lynch and Jeff Pilson for their project Heavy Hitters, the first volume of covers that they did, and he sang for them. So I really wanted to get something that was his own, where he came from, and Earshot was his band. Apparently they made 2 albums together, so I am looking for the second one. Found the debut Ghost album. This is one I've been hunting for a while, and it's out of print and very hard to come by. So finding a brand new sealed copy of this was pretty amazing. But interestingly, maybe the one that I ended up liking the most and really had no idea that I was going to like it this much, Stoney and Meatloaf. So Meatloaf had this album in 1971. It was a duo featuring, this woman, Stoney, and him in there, both of them having, odd stage names like that, but it was the early 1970s. And it's very R&B, soulful kind of music, actually signed to Motown on the Rare Earth label, where they were trying to promote white artists, Motown being traditionally a black label. And this was one of the artists that they signed to it. And again, I thought that, I just really kind of wanted it for completist reasons, but I really ended up enjoying the music on here. So I'd say, if you are a Meatloaf fan and you hadn't checked it out, definitely check it out. It's got some good stuff on there. And I also picked up this Duran Duran shirt. So, you know me, I love my blue shirts a lot. And this has got that, what they call a heather look to it. So it's not just solid blue. It's got little bits of, grays and dark and light blues and everything in it. But that logo being printed right on it is very nice. So got that. All right, so since I picked up that Manfred Mann best of, it really sent me on a whole new path going down the road collecting some different Manfred Mann albums. You saw one of them last week that I had gotten. I also picked up Nightingales and Bombers album. This one here having the other Bruce Springsteen track, Spirits in the Night, which would be re-recorded and released as part of Roaring Silence to capitalize on the Bruce Springsteen hit that they were doing, Blinded by the Light. So I wanted to go back and get the original version of it off of this album. And when listening to the best of, some of the songs that really stood out to me, 3 of them, in fact, came from this album, Angel Station. And it happens to be the first 3 songs that are on here. Don't Kill It, Carol, You Angel, You, and Hollywood Town. And I really like those, so I decided to go ahead and pick up this one here. But the coolest thing of all, and this was only about 35 bucks, is I found a box set, 4 CD, odds and sods, mistakes and outtakes. And it's broken into 4 discs. We've got one that's called In the Beginning, then 2 Hollywood Town, 3 Brothers and Sisters, and 4 To the Limit. And like a lot of these, it's got the 2 discs up front. It doesn't have a very big booklet in here, but it does go track by track, and that's kind of the coolest part. is just the track-by-track commentary and everything that's in here, and then the 2 other discs that are in the back. So not as big a book as the ones that are like with the Jethro Tull, which those are massively done and very well researched and so forth. But this here at least goes track by track in there and talks about where it comes from and why it's an oddity. Maybe it was a re-recorded version. Maybe it was a different edit, different vocal on it, something along those lines. But making everything on here very, very cool. And I have to say, for being odds and sods, as they say, mistakes and outtakes, I kind of thought it would be collectors only sort of thing. This was so good. I've enjoyed listening to that as much as I did just their greatest hits, which has the actual single versions of things on it. All right, so I'd hit up all these different record stores. I talked to you guys about Jack's Music Shop from Red Bank, but I was also hitting up other ones, Factory Records, Princeton, and of course, Sound Exchange, my favorite of all of these. And some of the cool stuff I found there, debut Nazareth album, self-titled, Japanese pressing of it, replica LP style. And it's got bonus tracks and everything on it, which is very cool. So not just the album, the original, I think 8 or 9 tracks that are on it. But this very early, I think it's 1971, kind of kicked me off into a whole different direction of music, or late 60s, early 70s era stuff. I'll touch on that a bit more in just a minute. But while I was in the mood for the Nazareth stuff, I picked up one other album I didn't own called The Catch. I think this is 1984. And definitely not anything like this version. Now, you know me and 80s stuff. I like the 80s, so it's no problem. But when I popped that one on, that was, wow, this is definitely not the Nazareth that I know. The hard rock blues band. This one here has definitely got some synthesizer and 80s vibe to it. But as I mentioned, listening to this one, and when I was in the store, just kind of perusing things, my eyes came across Quicksilver Messenger Service. So I actually listened to a little bit and I really enjoyed it and picked some stuff up, and it was kind of on the fly because I didn't actually own anything in my collection. I think I'd had some stuff. I tried some stuff a while back and it didn't work for me. I mean, when I say a while back, I mean a number of years back. But this time it did. And I picked this twofer up for Shady Grove and Solid Silver. So this one is like 1970, 71. They would disband, I think, in the middle of this and then come back and have a reunion album there. And of course, I'm just learning that as I was going through all of this here, but I actually really enjoyed both of these albums. I think I like the later era stuff from them better than the 67, 68 beginnings of the band, although I am liking that stuff more and more, so I may be picking up some of that as well and maybe see that the following week. But I started with that, and I saw this. I thought this was interesting. Gary Duncan's Quicksilver. Gary Duncan being an original member of Quicksilver Messenger Service. So in 1986, he reformed the group and put this album out, Piece by Piece. This one is very 1980s sounding, almost a little metal thrown in there. So much, much different than the 60s era or even 70s era of the band. But I kind of like that. As I said, I've got my Nazareth, The Catch, to go with it. So when I'm buying music, I like to buy in the same sort of vein. It doesn't have to be the same genre, but if I'm buying rock and roll type stuff, I'm going to want that. I'm not going to necessarily want metal and so forth. So sometimes I don't go off in different directions, and I might put something on the back burner for a while in order to enjoy something else. But being in that mood of the late 60s, early 70s era stuff and enjoying what I heard with Quicksilver, I started exploring more, and I found this band, Copperhead. And this is different than the 1990 band Copperhead that was a southern rock group. This one here has John Cipollina, and he was the guitar player in Quicksilver Messenger Service, and after he left the band, he formed Copperhead. They made one album. So I was checking that out, and I just kept finding these things in there, and that's one of the things I love about Sound Exchange is they don't just have the popular Quicksilver Messenger Service stuff. They have offshoots and side projects and solo albums and other things. So if you really kind of go down the rabbit hole, it's a great place to go and look for this stuff. And I found this one, Terry and the Pirates. Terry Dolan. Don't necessarily know where he came from, but the guitar player in here is John Cipollina from Quicksilver Messenger Service. So, you know, Quicksilver, offshoot Quicksilver, solo side project stuff, really enjoying all of it. And I have to say, out of all the things that I picked up, it was this, the Terry and the Pirates, that I actually think I like the best, and just really enjoying just good straight up early 70s era rock and roll sound. Now, mentioning I don't generally like to mix my genres and the different veins of music, try and stay in one thing. I came across this one, I couldn't really pass it up. So even though it doesn't go with that late 60s, early 70s era vibe that I was feeling, Yngwie Malmsteen, Trial by Fire, live in Leningrad. This one here featuring Joe Lynn Turner as the lead vocalist. It was 1989, and this is a phenomenal live album. It's got the vibe and feel of live albums the way that I like them. And so had to pick that one up and listen to that on the car ride home. Really enjoyed it, but I'm gonna have to sit that aside so I can enjoy the other stuff. But there you go. As I said, a little bit of everything: CDs, shirt, the box set, even the jewelry that I showed you guys at the beginning of this. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode of New Music Finds and all the different things that I picked up here, and different ideas and things that might be worth you checking out. And if nothing else, maybe you give you something to think about, and you can go pull something off your library music shelf to give a listen to. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.